Hi guys, I'm Brenna Vazquez, and this is a show where we spotlight a student, feature a teacher, or meet with a person in the film or TV industry. Today's guest, we have Teddy Gibbons, an assistant director for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and also films like Doctor Strange and Halloween Kills. Teddy, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me at your beautiful facility. Really awesome.
Thank you. That's great. Our first question is, what's the biggest challenge you face as an assistant director and how do you handle it?
The biggest challenge, I would say, is working with every different type of person. You know, every film is made by different people with different preferences, different things that they think are good or bad. So in order to serve them at the highest potential, it requires me to always adapt and reinvent myself for what the situation needs versus what do I think is good.
That's very interesting, yeah. How was it working on the set of The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Was it one of your more challenging films?
Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was the key PA on that film. And that film was amazing to work on because there was a gigantic budget at the time. I think it was the second or third largest movie ever to come to New York at $300 million. The challenge for me was that I was doing lockups on that film, so I orchestrated what I believe is to be one of the top 3 lockups in New York City history, which is I had to make Madison Avenue from 23rd Street all the way to 34th Street desolate of people on a Saturday afternoon. So I hired 215 PAs, and we had to strategically place ourselves around and use police and hold the public back so we could have our extras take the set. And if you're watching that film, that sequence is during the chase in the beginning with Paul Giamatti, the Rhino, driving through New York. So yeah, that was it. But other than that, that job was probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever worked on.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun. What skills or habits have been most important to your success in this role?
Skills and habits, I would say, having a healthy mix inside of knowing the protocol for how to do something, but also knowing how to think on your feet and make it happen improvisationally. You know, a lot of times there's a way that we want the thing to go and it should go this way. And sometimes that method doesn't always work in the real world like it does on paper. And so a skill would for sure be how to improvise, how to think quick, how to reinvent the plan, how to say, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore, let's do this, give me that, change this, and now we're gonna go in this direction. I would say that as an assistant director, what I do is I help make the plan happen. So as long as I know the plan and how to make it happen, as long as I'm not hurting anybody or breaking any egregious rules, that job is very open to personal interpretation.
Oh, that sounds like challenging to like think at the top of your head to like get the idea. Yeah.
Well, the pressure helps. The pressure helps you have to think. It has to happen. Yeah.
How did you break into the industry?
I'm a musician and I make music. I like to make scores for movies, and I wanted to get on set and meet people who make music. And what ended up happening was I got on set and the skill set that we had just aforementioned started to come into play. And I became very good at thinking on my feet and making things happen, and that was noticed, and I was brought into higher and higher positions. If you think about what's happening on a film set, is that we have a rough plan of what we want to have happen that day, and it's kind of in the days and weeks prior, it's all kind of laid out on paper, and then when the day comes and it's time to do it, we got to make this thing happen. And so the people that are on the set that have the ability to kind of predict what's going to happen and anticipate what's going to happen and proactively take things to make sure that we are always, as a crew, as a production, landing with our best foot forward, those things kind of pull you in. So, you can get on set a bunch of different ways, but then once you get there, paying attention, knowing the story, knowing what we need, knowing what we don't need, those things will really kind of vacuum you into whatever direction you want. I don't know if I answered that question, though. You said, how did I get in, right?
Yeah.
I was with a friend that was sharing a music studio with me, and we were spring cleaning, and I asked him, what do you do? And he said, I'm a dolly grip for movies. And I was like, yeah, okay, you're a dolly grip, whatever. And then he told me, I push the dolly. And I said, on movies? And he said, yeah. And I said, real movies? And he said, yeah. And so I interned for a week on a Sam Rockwell, Emma Roberts movie called The Winning Season. And I felt like, I said, I could do this, because it's, like I said, it's a mixture of personal interpretation and responsibility. And then I became a locations assistant on a TV show called Law and Order. I went home after my first thing, and I was like, who do I know? 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 And I realized I knew somebody, and he got me to Law and Order, and then Law and Order, I got sucked up the vacuum, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How do you balance keeping a production on schedule while ensuring a good working environment on set?
Well, the answer is easy to that, is that you treat everybody like they're your family. Everybody is somebody's mom, somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's somebody. And you take care of everybody, and you understand that when people are frustrated or they're angry or they're losing their temper, that most times underneath that is some type of fear. Maybe they feel like they're going to fail, or they're not doing a good enough job, or whatever happens. So if you can hold compassion for them while that's happening, you can really diffuse a lot, because one thing that can happen, especially in the film business, is the blame game. This guy was supposed to do it, and it's possible. Like if there's something that falls apart, it's pretty easy to figure out, it fell apart right here. And this guy was supposed to do this, or that gal was supposed to do that, and that's where it fell apart. And the blame game doesn't really offer any fruit, And so understanding that everybody's going through what they're going through, and everybody's up against, every crew member is juggling a myriad of tasks and responsibilities aside from what they're currently doing in the moment. And so having a good balance, it just means remaining human, and understanding that you could be the next one to make the mistake. So how you handle it, it's kind of karmic. I'm going to handle someone who makes a mistake around me in the way that I would want to be handled if I made a mistake, because I'm not trying to make the mistakes on purpose, and sometimes they happen, so yeah. That's my answer.
Everyone makes mistakes, for sure.
It happens.
What advice would you give to someone looking to break into the industry as an assistant director?
I would say make sure that you really want to do that. It consumes a lot of time. It consumes a lot of energy. A basic day, you're going to say that an on-time day in the film industry is 12 and a half hours. 12 hours of shooting, half hour for lunch. So in front of your 12-hour day, you have You have 1 hour if you're a PA. You know, let's just say, for example, the day starts at 8 o'clock. You don't get called to work at 8 o'clock. You start at 7 and you set up. So you're there at 7. That means you're going to leave your house, depending where it is, at 5:30, which means you're going to wake up at about 5. And you know, and then you're going to shoot 6 hours. 6 hours from 8 is 2 o'clock. We're going to have lunch from 2 to 2:30 on paper, but it takes longer to get everybody fed, so it's like really 2:45. 6 hours back from that, we're going to shoot till 8:45, 2:45 plus 6. Then we're going to wrap. That's going to take an hour. Then we're going to drive home, and we're not going to get home till about 9 or 10. So your day is about 5:30 to about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so when you go on a job, you know, it's a lot like going out on a voyage, you know. This is great. This would be something that I would do when I started. It would say, get that truck quiet, right? And I would run out and I would talk to the driver and I would get him to be quiet. And I would use whatever skill, whatever charm I could to get that truck quiet. And then the boss would say, nice job. And they realized that I could do it, right? And then that's how you get kind of pulled in. And this is exactly what would happen on a movie. You'd have A-list actors and something like that would happen. And they'd say, get it. Somebody would go and get it. And so that's perfect. Back to the original question, I would say, you know, understand that assistant directing is a lot of logistics. You know, there's 3 categories of assistant directors. There's the first AD, who's in charge of all the tasks. He's the schedule maker. He's the task master. He knows everything that we need to do, when we need to do it, how fast we need to do it. The next one, and more. The next is the key second AD. They take the schedule and all the pieces that the first assistant director has outlined. He takes all that stuff, or she, and organizes it into a call sheet. Make sure that every actor is getting picked up at the right time at the right location, and these pieces are going to be here at this time. And there's an animal in the scene. Make sure that the goat is there at 10 a.m. and the goat people know that we're shooting on Tuesday. And they're like the office kind of tech people, kind of, and more. And then there's the second, which is something that I do very much, which is helping the first AD execute the schedule, execute the task, line up the things, move the pieces. Hey, I need the car. I need this stuff moved. I need this. I need that. I need this to go away. Where's this? Lining everything up. Like you're just like feeding the set. The actors are going to come at this time. He's not here yet. Okay, we're going to do this. Oh, like it's just constant information. And the second also sets and creates all the extras, which is something that I love to do, and I think it's probably one of my specialties is taking all of the background actors and giving life to the place around the principal actors. And that challenge is a very desirable trait in New York film business because it can really waste a lot of time if you don't know how to do it. So you know, you have two actors and you have a camera here and you set the background, you know, and then we're going to take a break and we're going to put the camera over here. You have to be able to recreate it the exact same way. It's not just sending people around the room. It has to be the exact same way so that when you edit, it matches. Like you see the lady walk across the room, the camera cuts back, she's still walking, stuff like that. So yeah, those are very roughly the 3 jobs.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Teddy, for joining us today. We really learned so much on this Tech Talk. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.